Loans, the only game where Trevor will always win. Backyard camping, the only vacation Trevor can take. Temu has great deals, this is the only house Trevor will ever afford. PetSmart, the place where Trevor will probably buy his future children.
In the 1970s, growing up came up with a checklist: graduate, move out, land a job, get married, and have kids, all by a certain age. Life didn't feel easy, but the path looked more straightforward. In 1975, nearly half of Americans between the ages of 25 and 34 had already hit all those so-called adult milestones. They were living independently, working full-time, married, and raising children. Today, that number is closer to 1 in 4. The most common experience nowadays is having only 1 or 2 of those boxes checked, usually living on your own and working, while the rest is a someday or a maybe. All this raises the big question: are we really just delaying adulthood, or something else is happening? In this video, we'll explore the rise of a new life stage, how pop culture and economic chaos shaped it, and why growing up today looks less like a straight path and more like a choose-your-own adventure. Welcome to This Might Be Why, where we unpack the strange, the overlooked, and the uncomfortable true parts of modern life. Let's get into it. Psychologist Jeffrey Arnett coined the term emerging adulthood to describe this exact phase, roughly ages 18 to 29, where people are no longer teens, but not quite traditional adults either. It's a time of identity exploration, instability, self-focus, feeling in between, and possibilities. Perhaps it also includes late-night Google searches like, how to make friends as an adult? Is this love or just drama bonding? Or what to do when your air fryer is your most stable relationship. This in-between state isn't always fun, but it makes sense. The age of first marriage has risen to 30 for men and 28 for women. Home ownership is now a distant milestone for many and not a starting point. Parenthood is delayed, if it happens at all. It's become more common, even expected, to spend your 20s hopping between cities or careers, dating different people, and figuring yourself out. Essentially, finding the plot after the old script was faded. This period can be freeing, but it's also fraught with uncertainty. Feeling left behind is a frequent worry when the finish lines are no longer clear. Yet, as we'll see, society and culture have in many ways adapted to and even embraced this prolonged journey to grown-up status.
Pay for what?
Everything.
But I just got here.
Well, in the meantime, we're gonna have to charge you for the air you're using.
You charge for breathing?
Just kidding. You will be taxed, however.
Adulthood is expensive, like incomprehensibly expensive. Many young adults step into the real world during a stretch of economic crisis, where wages stagnated, housing prices soared, and student debt ballooned past $30,000 on average in the US, while the price of a starter home in cities like Toronto or LA climbed 8 to 10 times the average salary. The result? Buying a home, starting a family, or even moving out isn't delayed by choice. It's often postponed out of necessity. Nearly 40% of Americans now work freelance or gig jobs, trading security for flexibility, often without benefits or stability. Childcare costs have risen over 1,500% since 1975. Healthcare remains unpredictable, and even with a degree, the job market doesn't guarantee upward mobility. This isn't a failure to launch, but more so a slow calculation in a system where the math simply doesn't work. So, what fills the space when traditional milestones feel out of reach?
I've got some questions I want answers. What are you doing about moving out?
I don't know.
About Donna?
I don't know.
Your job?
I don't know.
Your future?
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit you with an... I don't know.
Then no food for you.
For years, pop culture has given us a familiar character, the lovable, emotionally stunted 30-something who avoids commitment but somehow always has a quirky group of friends.
Everyone's leaving me and I don't like it.
In a suspiciously large apartment. The man-child or goofy adult kid archetype became a sitcom staple. He never really grows up, but we love him anyway. These shows made prolonged youth feel normal, and in some cases, desirable. You could be clumsy with feelings, allergic to long-term plans, and still be seen as endearing. But while the laugh track softened the blow, there was an unspoken cost. These characters rarely evolved. They stayed emotionally stagnant until maybe the final episode, or not at all. And real-life viewers absorbed the message, even if subconsciously, that it's fine to put off serious adulthood, maybe forever. At the same time, a whole parallel economy sprang up to comfort the slow drift into nowhere. Micro-luxuries, nostalgia, soothing rituals. When the big milestones feel unreachable, people turn to the small joys they can control. Instead of a house, there's a shelf of Pokemon cards. Or anime figurines. Instead of starting a family, it's a 10-step skincare routine and an $8 matcha latte. Instead of long-term stability, it's collecting sneakers or building intricate Lego sets over the weekend. This isn't just anecdotal. According to a 2020 market report, adults made up 24% of toy sales, accounting for nearly $9 billion in purchases. They were also responsible for 2/3 of the toy industry's growth that year. Toy figurines, cards, collectibles, these aren't just childhood relics anymore. They're self-care tools. They offer familiarity in a world that feels increasingly uncertain. Take Labubu, for example, the fuzzy, gremlin-like toy turned fashion accessory. People aren't just collecting them. They're clipping them onto luxury handbags and trading rare versions for thousands of dollars. It's part ironic, part comforting, and entirely real.
Complain now, but if you see me in my next video with a full set of skull pandas, mind your business, okay, please.
It's the modern version of a security blanket. None of this is inherently bad. These rituals, brewing the perfect cup of coffee, rewatching your favorite TV show, lining up your figurines just right, playing card games, this help people feel grounded. In a chaotic world, they say, I might not own a home, but this shelf, immaculate. And honestly, that's valid. But there's a difference between play and escape. It gets blurry when comfort becomes the compass, when leisure turns into avoidance, and when growth starts to feel too heavy and too anxiety-packed to even attempt. Responsibilities begin to look like threats to our freedom. Relationships get sidelined because they require real intimacy, like effort, communication, vulnerability, and honesty. It becomes easier to justify debt for micro-luxuries than to build the habits of saving or investing, forgetting that financial stability isn't a finish line to stumble into, but something you steadily construct. Slowly, the future becomes something we promise to deal with eventually. You know, when we have more money, clarity, motivation, or courage. At some point though, the sitcom character stops being funny and starts looking a little too familiar in the mirror. Somewhere along the way, adulting went from the internet jokes to an everyday vocabulary.
Why is being an adult so hard? You know what? I'm stumbling through life and that's okay because I'm still in my 20s. I'm so old. I'm basically 30. No one will love me and my ovaries are turning into dust. I am so powerful. Like your 20s don't mean anything. Your life actually starts in your 30s. Well, I still have no idea what I'm doing with my life, but I guess the secret is no one does.
Book the dentist appointment? Look at me adulting. What used to be a standard life maintenance, cooking, cleaning, paying the bills, now feels like a series of mini-boss battles in a game we never trained to play. It's not that people don't care or can't handle it. It's just that the environment shifted way too fast. Previous generations entered adulthood with clearer roadmaps and more predictable systems. Today's young adults are navigating a very different reality.
That's it? Well, you guys want to get something to eat?
Rising costs, climate anxiety, digital burnout, and a job market that often feels like a slot machine. Many leave university with a diploma in one hand and a student debt in the other, but no guarantee of stable work or real-world preparation. Adulting became a meme for survival, a way to laugh at how unprepared we feel. But over time, that humor shaped a quiet illusion that growing up is optional. Something you clock in when it's convenient and then joke when it gets overwhelming. Yes, humor helped because it gave us breathing room, but avoidance, left unchecked, quietly becomes a way of life.
I'm Lois. Oh, for God's sakes, Peter.
Without structure or long-term vision, even the most intentional pause can turn into a plateau. 1 year becomes 5, the figuring things out phase becomes a lifestyle, and suddenly, you're doom scrolling Zillow just to feel something. But the truth is, freedom doesn't mean escaping responsibility. It means choosing commitments that actually matter to you. Structure isn't a trap, but the foundation to hold you up when life gets messy. It gives shape to your growth so you can keep moving forward even when the path isn't clear. Maybe we don't need to return to the old definition of adulthood. Maybe what we need is a better one. The breakdown of traditional adulthood has a hidden gift. It's forcing us to rethink what it actually means to grow up. Instead of blindly following the old formula, married by 30, mortgage, 2 kids, we're seeing a quiet revolution, one where adulthood isn't measured by milestone, but by meaning. Today, young adults are crafting lives that center fulfillment, mental health, and chosen relationships over timelines and status, and they're doing it in a world that looks nothing like the one their parents came of age in. Gender roles are shifting. Fewer women are marrying or having children young in pursuit of education, autonomy, and choice. The average age of first-time mothers has climbed, and many opt out of motherhood entirely. Meanwhile, more men are stepping into caregiving roles, with nearly 1 in 5 stay-at-home parents are now dads. The provider versus nurture script is giving way to shared responsibility and fluid identity. Support systems are evolving too. With marriage and nuclear families often delayed, friendships have stepped up. Chosen family is no longer just a poetic phrase, but a survival strategy. Roommate households, mutual aid groups, and friend pods are replacing outdated notions of what a real-life adult looks like. These networks offer emotional safety, resource sharing, and deep belonging. They're not a backup plan. They are the plan. Even the definition of success has shifted. Millennials and Gen Z have watched older generations burn out chasing status. Now, many prioritizes freedom, health, and connection over career prestige. A fulfilling life might mean gig work that pays the bills while you write poetry, or a modest home that allows time for friends and creative projects. Having it all is being replaced by having what matters. There's more flexibility now to design a life that actually fits, and not just the one that looks impressive on paper. Therapy is seen as maintenance instead of a red flag. Living with family during hard season isn't shameful, but practical. Choosing not to marry or have children doesn't make you an outsider, because to you, it means making intentional choices based on your values and not someone else's expectations. Having hobbies, collections, or personal quirks doesn't end when you sign a mortgage or a marriage license. And spending money on things that genuinely bring you joy, whether it's a solo trip or even Pokemon cards and Labubus, isn't frivolous when it adds meaning to your life. Just make sure it's fueled by intention and not just impulse, because long-term peace of mind is harder to collect once you've traded it for a credit card debt and zero savings. Today, adulthood isn't about following a rigid sequence. Love, work, rest, and relationships are not the steps on a ladder. They're pieces you arrange and rearrange based on your values, your season, and your energy. Balance doesn't mean doing everything. It means making room for what matters most and letting that be enough. And maybe that's the point. We're not here to replicate the past. We're here to create something that fits who we are becoming.
And feeling like I matter.
Ew.
Personal choices matter.
I'm all for having purpose and fulfillment and whatever, but I think we also need to acknowledge that the system is broken. Like, I get it. You were raised in a time when everyone said you could do whatever you wanted and pretended that you could have the American dream on a bachelor's degree in a single income household.
But systems shape what's possible. We tell people to grow up, take responsibility, and build a life. But what are they supposed to build on?
Okay. You come from a hopeful time, but a time full of lies. I come from the veil lifted.
You can't pour a foundation on a quicksand. If we want people to grow up, we have to give them something to grow into. Affordable housing that doesn't require winning the lottery. Healthcare that doesn't bankrupt you for getting sick. fair wages that let you move out without 10 roommates and a part-time OnlyFans, childcare that doesn't cost more than your rent, and parental leave that understands babies don't develop on corporate timelines.
Why are you working at McDonald's at such a young age?
Because I need 10 years of experience to get a better job.
People aren't asking for charity, they're asking for a chance to build something that lasts, a foundation that makes a meaningful life not just possible, but also sustainable. Look at the Nordic countries. They've invested in universal healthcare, affordable childcare, free or low-cost education, and generous gender-equal parental leave. In Sweden, for example, new parents get up to 480 days of paid leave with 80% of their salary covered, and a portion of that leave is exclusively reserved for each parent to encourage shared caregiving and gender equality. It's not just policy, but a cultural vote that we trust families to grow thoughtfully and deliberately. And the results? These countries consistently rank among the happiest in the world, with high levels of social trust, economic mobility, and life satisfaction. Even as fertility rates dip globally, it's still a sign that stability fosters family growth. When the ground feels steadier, with support systems that don't collapse under adulting, people are more willing to plant roots, trial, fail, love, and grow.
Does Big C expect the world but offer breadcrumbs? I guess. Do I have to sacrifice my nights and weekends? Well, sometimes, but and will they be happy to abandon us in spite of years of loyalty and service of profits? We have free snacks. This is how they got you to sell your soul? Free snacks? What about a livable wage? I have 2 part-time jobs.
People want to grow, to contribute, and build something that matters. But the path has to make sense. It has to feel possible. That means updating our systems, economic, social, emotional, to match the reality of how people live now. It means letting go of rigid expectations and building structures that are flexible, humane, and real. Structures that don't measure success by what you own, but by how deeply you live. We need a culture that sees emotional growth as real progress, that values empathy, adaptability, and self-awareness as much as job titles or home ownership. One where community is infrastructure and not an afterthought, and where support holds space, not judgment. Yes, this new freedom can feel chaotic, but it also invites creativity, possibility, and a chance to redefine what a good life looks like. Growing up today doesn't follow a straight line. It zigzags, doubles back, and sometimes it starts over entirely, but that doesn't make it wrong. This version of adulthood may be slower or messier, but it's also more intentional. Some raise kids before finding careers, others starts over at 40, or build chosen families instead of nuclear ones. Many are crafting lives around meaning and not milestones. Adulthood then isn't a status you unlock. It's a relationship you build with yourself, your responsibilities, and the values you carry forward. So maybe the question isn't why won't people grow up, but what kind of adulthood are we asking them to grow into in the first place? If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Tay, and I'll see you in the next one.